everyone. How are we all today? I
Great.
am very excited to be. We have brought Boris back from Griffin's Keep, Brendan from Crossroad Games, and Mason from Squad Marks. They all own friendly local gaming stores from various parts of the country, and we're going to talk today about what it's like to own a game store. Because if you're a gamer, I'm pretty sure at some point you've thought, wouldn't it be cool to own my own game store? Um, so we're going to talk about what the pros are, what the cons are, and what the benefits are of making sure that you support your local gaming store instead of just ordering everything online. As always, we're going to start with some quick introductions. For those of you, I think we have some new people since the last time Boris was on. So, Boris, take it away.
Hey, I want to say thank you so much again for having me back. I'm super excited. Griffin's Keep is located in Willard, Missouri, and we're now celebrating our first year in business. It's had its ups and downs, but it's been super cool. And so I'm really excited to be able to share with you guys our experience, maybe answer some questions, and just have a good time.
Thank you very much. And Brendan.
Hello, my name is Brendan Hill. I own Crossroad Games with my wife, Chris, who has been on this show before. This is our 27th year in business. We started in 1999, and yeah, we were talking about this before the show, we're one of arguably the oldest shop in Maine. Of which there are a lot of old shops in Maine. So it's a good gaming place.
I suppose we could joke that in Maine, the gaming shops are sort of like marriages. They either end very quickly or they just last forever.
I think that is true for a lot of game stores.
All right. And Mason.
Yeah, my name is Mason. I'm the owner of Squad Marks HQ. We're located in Southern California, Orange County. We've been in operation for about 3 years now. I think just over 3 years. Yeah, excited to be on.
And you recently moved to a location, I assume, because that means
Yeah,
business is
so
doing really well.
for the most part, our first location obviously was very well priced, but there started issues, so we decided to move to a bigger location. But it's closer to the freeway, so a lot of people can get here easier. Yeah, and we're hoping to increase a bunch of people coming in.
Excellent. Okay. I want to say a quick hello to the chat. See who's here tonight. For once, Legatus was not the first person in the chat. So, Gail, welcome. Gail was my first super chat ever. So, Gail gets lots of introductions based on that. I always joke, I keep joking that, I wish internet money was like the same as the regular stuff so I could take the first, one I ever made and like frame it and put it up on a wall somewhere. Legatus is one of our mods, and usually the first person here. So, usually by just showing up 2 days before the stream is ever, actually going to run. But I was late putting the studio up today. So we have Mr. Angel. Welcome. I'm trying to remember if you've ever made this or if you've just always been in my game chats, but either way, very good to see you. Jacob, welcome. I am looking very forward to talking X-Files with you next week. I'm just I can't pronounce that, so I'm just going to call you Wolfie. Yes, Wolfie and I share a great love of Shadow of the Demon Lord. So we met when he found out that I was going to have Rob on soon. We have Eraser, who is the other mod and the giver of links. Eraser's expertise is knowing that I need a link before I know I need a link and having it already up in the comments. And I see we have lots of other people who are lurking in the background. I hope some of you will pop into the chat with questions as we go. But if all we can do is lurk, I am happy to have you here. No, oh, there we go. I knew there had to be more. Patrick, welcome. How are you doing this evening? Or I assume I tend to assume evening for everyone at this point, but I know that we get people from all over the place. So I'm always saying good morning during my game streams and forgetting that 90% of the people are actually from the UK and it's mid afternoon. Um, all right, so we are going to start conversation with just a few questions I had, and it's going to be fairly open discussion. So, chat, I'm really dependent on you. You always have really good discussion points and really good questions. So, I am. Thank you, Jacob. Um, yeah, you always have really good questions and you always have really good discussion points. So, I am hoping that that will do tonight. So I guess where I wanted to start was what made you want to start, or what made everybody want to start a game store, other than you know the vague thought we all occasionally have of, man, I really wish I had my own game store. What made you actually follow through?
Did you want to start clockwise again?
I don't. I open conversation. You can feed off each other. You can however you like.
Well, if you guys have no, I'd like to kind of go last here. I'm kind of setting up some headphones last minute, so I'd kind of like to hear about maybe your store, Brennan. The longest running in Maine's pretty cool.
Yeah, I started my store. I'm 53 now. I started working on my store in 1998, a couple years out of college. I was kind of wandering around and decided that I was at a place in my life where I could take a chance. And I rented, actually, I started setting up distributors so that I could buy games to stock my game store. And I found out that you had to have a physical space. And I rented 1 square foot of my friend's commercially zoned barn to set up my distributor accounts.
Nice.
And then I rented a 180 square foot location on a kind of main drag in a really small town. And the town that I'm actually still in, we've moved once. So I opened up. I had one customer who was a friend on my first day. He bought a White Dwarf magazine. And I was like, I spent my entire life savings to open it up. And I was like, maybe this isn't a good idea. And on the second day, I had one kid come in. He was maybe 9 years old. He walked into the store. He had 2 Ziploc bags of unrolled pennies. He bought 2 packs of Pokemon. This is in 1999, so it was base set 1. And that was my only customer that day. And then
that kid still has those cards and is worth more than all of us put together.
So that kid, I opened up with no advertising budget. I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to see if I could make a go at a game store. And that kid went to school, and everyone asked him where he got the cards because the cards were impossible to find. And I went to the following day, I had no customers at all. And then on the day after that, which was a Saturday, I came to the store feeling pretty low. I had sold a grand total over like 3 days. I had done like $20 in sales. And on Saturday, there was a line out the door before I got there in the morning, and it never stopped. So it was just off like a rocket.
That must have improved your mood.
No, it was absolutely crazy. It was trial by fire. I was lucky to have essentially such a liquid commodity. I was the only place that had a direct. So Wizards of the Coast, the makers of Magic and Dungeons and Dragons at this point, used to print. They printed the first 4 sets of Pokemon, 4 or 5 sets. So I had the only game store with the only direct connection to Wizards of the Coast. So I had the best supply in southern Maine, and I had no idea what to do with it. Other than to sell it. I started a league, and that was my advertising. That allowed me to show all of these people. I don't think I've experienced anything in the gaming industry that was as crazy as Pokemon in 1999 and 2000. Like, we had customers coming in the store that they didn't even know why they were buying it. They were just like, yep, everyone else is buying it, I'm going to buy it too. And that allowed me to show them role-playing games and miniature games. And I mean, board games were basically Settlers of Catan. Fantasy Flight Games had just started, so they had like Twilight Imperium. That was it. And then, yeah, after.
I was going to ask if you managed to sell anything but Pokemon cards that
No,
day.
we did. That was like, I paid Tony Rieger, who's now a pretty big painter. He works for Warlord Games and stuff like that. I paid him a couple $100, which was like a crazy amount at that point for my small business, to make a 2-foot by 2-foot Mordheim board. So like one of those, at the time, really crazy detailed fantasy miniature game boards, and I set it right beside the register. So the lines of people buying Pokemon had to be like, what is that? And if I could turn like 1 in 10 customers from coming in the store just to buy Pokemon into actual gamers, then that was my game plan for the first couple of years. And then, Magic, I was there when Friday Night Magic started. Yeah, it's just been a wild ride.
Patrick says Pokemon is still big too. Do you find it still is for the store, or?
I mean, yeah, Pokemon it hovers around. It is now the most, maybe not most, one of the most recognizable intellectual properties in the world. So, like, everyone knows Pikachu. And Pokemon, I mean, there's a set that's coming out. We get new product this week. We'll have it for half an hour and it'll be sold out.
That's amazing. I didn't know. I knew the video games were still huge. I had no idea that the cards were still quite
The
huge.
cards are how I pay my rent right now. If I can get it, I gotta be careful. Like, I tell my league players first, because those are the guys that play in my store. But as soon as it gets out that I've got anything, it is gone.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought that was like the magic thing. See,
this is why Magic too.
This is why I don't own a game store. The husband and I thought about it at one point. He said he was thinking about doing one that was all retro games. And then he thought about it for a while, and he hung around a bunch of stores for a while. And he's like, you know what? I really just want an excuse to hang out in a game store all day. I don't actually really want to run one.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people about opening a game store, and it is. I think a lot of people come to it because they like games, right? And I think that's super important. There's simply too much that you have to know to come to a game store and work in a game store or open a game store and not know about games, right? But in my experience, opening a game store, you actually play far fewer games than you did previous to opening a game store. Your job becomes hosting and supplying games for other people. Your job becomes a community manager and retail manager. And that's completely different. And I think that's why a lot of people eventually set it down, because you lose a lot of that, like, you have the potential, the danger of losing a lot of the passion that brought you in.
Well, the day-to-day becomes, how do I help someone else have fun? I haven't had a chance to sit down and run any of the games that I used to run on a regular basis because I got to make sure I got product. I got this event coming up. I need to make sure these guys are taken care of. It's definitely a mentality shift. You expect going into it that you're going to sit there and hang out and play Magic with your buddies all day, but that's not going to get any of the store stuff taken care of, or build the league, or support your players. So yeah, definitely, Brendan. It's one of the things that I think has been probably the starkest realization. We have been around gaming for quite a long time, and we've had the support of our local game stores. But when we made the choice, we had an opportunity come up. We'd been teaching a lot in the community and working with local cons and stuff. So we're like, yeah, we've got enough savvy, we can make it work. We had a lot of trouble like onlining distributors and stuff. It happened right as Diamond was bankruptcy, right when they did their bankruptcy. So that was a bit of an interesting time. But yeah, it's definitely not sitting around and getting into a chance to talk about D&D and your favorite board game and what else going on. You're like, hey, I got to make a space available. We're building a community. Let's make sure it's safe. Keep people from being,
Don't be a
jerks
dick.
about certain things. Yeah, um, not too bad. I've been pretty happy because we're in a small town, Missouri. But I'm sure, um, that's one of those things that you don't expect. Like if you really love baking and you open a bakery and your cookies are amazing. Well, there's a lot of other things you have to learn about now too. Like you got to figure out croissants and cakes and all this stuff. But if you're not the one still doing the baking, you start to grow. You get a staff. You're like, now you're the kitchen manager. You need to make sure you have your eggs, your flour, and this and that. And the job shifts. It becomes a little different.
Well, and I was thinking too, like, I love baking bread, but if I was doing it for a living and I had to do it all the time, I probably wouldn't love baking bread anymore. Um, I did want to ask, so Brendan, I know you have a lot of board games, you have a lot of Warhammer, you have a lot of role-playing games, especially indie role-playing games.
Mhm.
Um, Mason and Boris, what do you find are your kind of big categories in your stores?
Warhammer for sure. We're a little bit different. We don't really do cards. It's more tabletop gaming and stuff like that. We're kind of tailoring to that. There's probably 5 or 6 card shops within 5 minutes of us. So
Hmm.
we don't really. I mean, we do get some cards from distributors, but that's not our bread and butter for sure.
We started painting the store. I might flip my camera around here in a second to show you some of the stuff that we've got just in this room. But we put a thing up in the window that says, "Hey, we're Griffin's Keep Games coming soon." And we'd have people stopping by before we even got the store ready. Hey, you're gonna have Pokemon, right? Hey, you're gonna have Pokemon, right? Hey, do you guys know if you're gonna be carrying Pokemon? We're like, I think we'll be carrying Pokemon. Uh, we've got a lot of kids in the
We
area
are
that
now.
that they've got binders and things from their uncle and this and that. Lots of collections. It was really a lot of fun. Um, but aside from us, there's several other really strong running local game stores in our area. Willard is a suburb of Springfield, which is the third largest city in the state. And so there's definitely some really strong communities that, maybe people didn't want to drive or that sort of stuff. So that was like our flagship. The other one that we really got going well right now is Gundam card game. We're looking to expand, of course, into Gundam Assemble. But my players right now, I've got a few tabletop players and a lot of card players. And realistically, I was hoping to have a little bit more RPG players because that's where we've got a lot of experience. Excuse me, but I'm glad to be able to do it. It's been interesting, running a league, getting support from different distributors and publishers and the whole 9 yards. But really kind of took us by surprise how popular Pokemon is in our area, and just that's what they want to play on a weekend. On a regular league play day, I'll have 18 to 20 people. My store maximum is 28 seats, so we fill a store with Pokemon.
Yeah. Minis are that way around where I am. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 stores within a half an hour of me, and all of them are minis. Well, I mean, they carry some other stuff too, but minis are. Well, I take that back. One of them is really magic based. The other 3 are all really minis based. 2 have like big Warhammer things all the time, and one I think is mostly BattleTech.
Mason, I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
I feel like Brendan and I have kind of dominated this segment. Are you a big war gamer? Are you big in the miniature battles? Was that your first
Yeah.
in that store?
So I'll just run a quick bio about how I started. So I'm an industrial designer. I went to school and stuff, so I do product design. Worked for various companies for 10, 15 years. And then I was my buddies got me into Warhammer, so we were playing that solidly probably for about 10 years. And then my, industrial design side and my hobby side, I started making products, making, 3D printing stuff to make the hobby more, interesting, I guess, or more seamless. And about I did that. So Squad Mark started 2018, and I prototyped some stuff, sold it at LVO, Las Vegas Open, run by Frontline Gaming, and got enough capital to basically start selling product. And I did that for about 6 years. And then we'd have a bunch of guys over at our house at the time. I was renting a space with a huge garage. So we'd have like 10, 15 people over weekly. And then my wife kind of got annoyed by it. And so I kind of took the jump
Those damn
and
wives.
found I found a office space actually. I was subleasing an office space to start like a gaming club. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. So it was a monthly membership. It's $30 a month right now, and basically I allowed 24-hour access to the store. So everyone gets like a key fob, stuff like that. And it worked for about 2 years. I was able to get some, contracts and stuff, some distribution. Rent was really cheap, and the big GW decided they didn't like my store being in an office, despite them saying that it was all in the guidelines and stuff like that. They just didn't like it. That's long story short. So we took the jump, and I found a better retail spot that we can have a retail space, which I'm in right now, and a gaming club. So we actually have a 24-hour gaming club, and that's how we pay rent. Actually, our members, we have 115, 120 members right now,
Wow.
and they can come whenever. Yeah, so we've grown quite a bit for the last 3 years.
You're like a gym for Warhammer.
Yeah, basically it's a gym for nerds, and that's what we kind of describe ourselves as. So we can fit 20 tables in our space right now. We have a 2,500 square foot space. It's a flex space, but we can do 40 person 40K tournaments, and each table is 4x6 or whatever. So it takes up a lot of space. So rent's fairly expensive here, especially in California. And we have a bunch of we have at least 2 or 3 stores within 20, 30 minutes of us. But when traffic hits, people like to, they have their own store they want to go to. So a lot of people don't really show up to our store till late in the afternoon, like 5 o'clock. But so when they show up 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, they want to be able to know their space available and also have time to play their games, because, more games take 2-3 hours or whatever. So people are, allowed to stay here kind of as long as they want. We have day passes as well. So we get a lot of that, and we run tournaments weekly. So we have a gaming club that runs Warhammer 40K tournaments almost monthly, and we do 30, 40 people at a time, and we do other games too. So we do, now Warhammer is obviously, 40K is the biggest, Age of Sigmar probably close second, but we do Lord of the Rings, War Machine, BattleTech as well. We have a pretty good BattleTech community here.
Oh, you still do War Machine?
Yeah, well, they just came out with a new edition, so people are starting to come back. And Steamforge Games, who took over War Machine basically for Model Wise, has started 3D printing things instead of manufacturing. So that's another big thing this year was just the tariffs in general. A lot of our UK suppliers, were kind of weary to send stuff to us because they didn't want to overcharge us for, tariffs and stuff like that. So I think Steamforge is a good. They pivoted, so actually they have at Frontline Gaming, I heard, is actually going to be supplying their 3D printing locally, so they don't have to worry about model distribution and stuff like that. But yeah, just learning the ins and outs of getting distribution on board, trying to find who sells what, and then what the customer has been asking for. There's a few game stores in the area, but they close 8 o'clock ish usually. So we've kind of tailored the market for that.
Question from the audience that I think is kind of a springboard off what you were saying. I was going to ask, are any of you guys doing some variety of 3D print farm selling prints on demand?
There's a game.
I have some
good.
papers. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
We've got some custom stuff that we're working with some local printers that they'll print an atlas from Warhammer, fully posable. That's like this freaking tall, and I think they retail for about 50, so their cost is pretty good. But that's more of a novelty sort of thing for us. And I have been working with the Gunpla builders of the Ozarks to try to get some custom scenery and different things like that. Those guys are branching out into dioramas. They go around and do competition, and so we're trying to help them find a space that they can build in. But I'm not doing any 3D printing myself. It's something we have looked at. But with a majority population of card players, I don't have a whole lot of call for it.
Yeah, we have some 3D printers, some FDM ones, and then I have some resin printers. And I'll print models for people kind of on the side. It's not really a main business. I'll just print some stuff for people. And then we have kind of a spreadsheet of people that have printers and people that want to get printer stuff printed. And then we also have people on there for commission painting. We have a lot of guys that are asking for stuff being painted. So yeah, it's just a little not super main business, but it's starting to grow a lot more.
Side note, is Davyverse in the chat by any chance? I don't think he is, but I'm just curious. He the other day did this picture of a BattleTech, a green battle mech with a goat, just for me. and now I really want one. So sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up on a couple of things. We don't do any 3D printing. I own a 3D printer. I own a filament and resin printer myself, but we haven't figured out how to make any sort of profitable ventures as far as a business. So it's just not something we do. Legatus had a couple questions. One of them was a ways back.
I have that one tagged because I wanted to come back to that one.
So I'll wait until you lead us back to that. But he also talks about used stuff. Yep, we do. We do a brisk trade in taking in used stuff for either money or store credit and reselling it. So we have, glass cases with miniatures for Warhammer and Age of Sigmar mostly. We do Magic singles, Pokemon singles, old D&D books, old role-playing books, really anything that is gaming. So we're buying collections, small and large, every day. So yeah, we have a large, but that is a completely, it's a different business. It works, well together with a game store, but it is its own thing. It needs its own training, its own skill set to do that type of stuff.
I always found it to be like running a pawn shop counter inside my game store. It's kind of how, if you've watched Pawn Stars and they're going back and forth, you're like, great, here we go again. But we do a lot of the used stuff as well. I had another thing and I forgot it. But, I wanted to ask here, is anybody also doing sports cards? We've got a lot of, typically, I think the older generation, the guys that grew up with it, in my area, at least here in the Midwest, that are so ate up with sports cards. And I kind of feel bad when I have to tell them, that's not something I know a whole lot about or can really help you with. So I was wondering, did you guys get a hold of that in your areas too?
No.
Yeah, I have access to be able to carry sports cards. I have access to be able to carry Frisbee golf and remote control cars and stuff like that. But I don't because we want to be a game store. So there's other stores in the area that do sports cards. Sports cards are very hot, so there's lots of money to be made there. But we just have good relationships with other stores, and we send them there. And when they want Warhammer, they send them to us. So it all works.
Yeah,
out.
I know there are a couple of stores that they sort of just deal in different types of cards, whether they're sports cards or, you know, general. I can't think off the top of my head. I know there's some that they don't really do anything. They're just sort of collectible cards. They're not game cards or anything. They're just
Memorabilia stuff. Like there was a series from Star Trek Next Generation and comic book cards. I see those pop up every once in a while, but I tend to send those to secondhand retailers. That's just not what we deal with. But they are out there, and there's guys that chase after them.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think here it's mainly there are small stores that and they tend to be like square foot wise, I think, and Brendan, tell me if I'm wrong, but they tend to be square foot size, very small things, and they deal in cards because they're small and they can carry a lot of them in a really small building.
I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that it can be true. I think that there are a number of quote unquote card shops that are basically started as a person who had a collection of some type of cards, whether it's sports cards or Pokemon or Magic, and they're like, I know, I'm going to sign a lease and start a business with my collection. And that tends to be kind of a short-lived operation in a small retail space, because, yeah. But lots of those exist. But we have Bob's Sports Cards in Portland has been there for 40 years, and they have, I don't know, it's probably 3,000 square feet, and that's no game space. Like that's all retail, and that's a large retail section. So.
Well, that's what happens when I live in the boonies. The only card shops I've ever been to have been little tiny places because that's all we have.
Yeah. Yep. No, I mean, you go to, if you go to Walmart, for example, they have entire sections right next to Pokemon, usually empty, that are just sports cards. So, you can do a brisk business in sports cards, but that's, at least speaking for myself, that's not what we do. We're a game store. We have a retail space and we have a large game space. What we want to do is service our community through gaming. So that's why we choose not to do sports cards.
I will say for anybody that's kind of got, they're playing with different ideas, maybe looking at opening a store of their own, start humble and stay focused. It's very easy once you start looking at 40,000 SKUs on this distributor, and I've opened up another account and they also have another 30,000. If you've got the pocketbook for it, you can fill your store with stuff that just won't be sold in your area, because you're not necessarily, to Brendan's point, serving your community at that point. You just have a store full of stuff. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there, but stay focused and build something that serves people. And you should have a lot of fun with it. We have, at least.
Yeah, you also have to consider your market. Like we're in the town of Standish, which is like 6,000 people. We are outside of a major, like the largest city in the state. We're only about 15 minutes, so we service a lot of college town. Like we're the sleeper community of the major city. But you have to really consider, if you're considering opening a shop, like focus is one of the primary ways that you can compete against like online retailers and stuff. They're coming to you because of your expertise and focus. And you have to have, there are stores that are much larger, but they're also in very large markets.
Well, that's your example, isn't it, Mason? Where you've got card stores in your area, but you're a Warhammer store.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lack of tabletop space, and I think it works well in where we are in Southern California, or at least Orange County. There's a lot of people in apartments. There's not a lot of space to go play. So we don't have basements here. We have just garages. So I think here it works well for the type of business that we run here.
So I wanted to, Legatus has another good question, sort of piling on to this non-gaming cards. There's definitely a market for it. And one of the things that's happened in the last 10-ish years in the gaming industry is you start to see products within, now we're talking about cards, right? You start to see products that are ostensibly game pieces, but you wouldn't really want to play with them. So you start to see tricks that they do within like the just purely collectible cards, like baseball cards and stuff like that, starting to show up in games. A perfect example would be Magic the Gathering 2.5 years ago, did a Lord of the Rings set, and they had a one-of-one serialized one ring card in a booster pack, and that card sold for like $2 million. That's not a game piece. That is a collectible. So there is definitely some bleed from the purely collectible sports cards, the non-gaming cards, into the gaming genre. And that's something that in the last, again, 10 years, we have started doing. So we're servicing pure collectors. Lots of Pokemon customers are pure collectors. Lots of Magic customers are pure collectors. They care much more about collecting, very similar to a sports card purchaser, than they do actually playing the game. So that's been a transition that we've had to make. That's a good point. So sorry, I wanted to answer that.
All right, I have lost my comments thing here. Matt Funcool said, which is better to run, a digital shop or a real life shop? I think you're asking a pretty biased audience in that case, Matt.
Well, here's something that we ran into that we were very surprised by and actually kind of glad for, as somebody who was getting into opening a brick and mortar, to get the distribution, to get somebody who has a warehouse full of stuff you want to sell online. You have to have a store often. I mean, Brendan, you mentioned this as well. You were able to set that up before you went and got a brick and mortar. We did it afterwards. It was a nightmare. But a lot of these guys that you see doing pure online retail, I'm not sure where they're getting their stuff. You can find it. But, the major distributors that you'd see, at least in my area, I've got 5 major distributors. They all require a brick and mortar. And the same thing goes for any manufacturer program that is a play program. So Pokemon has certain requirements. Magic the Gathering, certain requirements. Gundam, Bandai. Your store has to meet certain minimums to also have play programs. So, there's some things that you can possibly do that are pure online, but as far as I've seen recently, there's a big bias towards the local game store, the brick and mortar type. Even if you don't support play in store, they just kind of want to see a retail space.
The only person I know who does I guess at this point it's like 90% online, but he has a warehouse, and I suspect the warehouse is getting counted as his.
Possibly. If he's got a customer-facing spot, it may meet a requirement. But again, I'm not entirely familiar with this. Brendan, you may be able to speak to it. But I do know that online is a component of what we do. You have to find markets for, we're talking about collectibles, Pokemon singles. I have a store that doesn't have a ton of foot traffic. So I have to sometimes go out and put my products in front of the customers that are looking for it. And there's ways to do that. But, as far as to be able to get the new product, get the new Pokemon cards, get Bandai products, get my D&D stuff, I had to have a brick and mortar. That was just a requirement.
So,
to his question, which is better, a digital shop or a real life shop? I think that's a personal question, depending on what you you need to do some soul searching if you're going to be thinking about opening a business. I think most physical stores these days have at least some sort of online component. I know we do. Although that's not our focus, we do about a relatively small percentage of our stuff online. Our focus is a physical store. But I know lots of people that have predominantly online stores. Like, you have major retailers like Card Kingdom, Star City Games, Noble Knight Games. If you go to Noble Knight in Madison, Wisconsin, they have like a fairly sizable physical game store. Couple thousand square feet of gaming space and about 1,500 square feet of retail space. And then they have like 35,000 square feet of warehousing space and packing and stuff like that. So you can do both. They are completely different disciplines. So as far as a skill set goes, you have to understand that dealing with customers online is different than building a community that is the bread and butter of a friendly local game store. And the answer to that question is a personal one. Do you want to deal with an online community, or do you want to deal with a face-to-face community? My personal opinion is online communities tend to be or can become a lot more toxic. Margins are a lot thinner. It's easier to open an online store, so the competition is much starker. The successful businesses that are online are predicated on the popularity of like a parasocial dynamic. I work with YouTubers that have hundreds of thousands of followers. They have successful online businesses. If you don't, then you're competing with everybody. So your margins are super low.
So I want to ask Matt, it seems like you're kind of looking at it from an author perspective more than the business owner perspective. Are you wondering whether or not you should try and approach stores with an independent book or just sell online? Are you trying to kind of tease that out from this? I don't know how that responds to what I asked. While he's typing us out an answer, I actually had a question about distributors because I have always been thoroughly confused by this. I do not know how the back end of running a game store works. And I know that sometimes I'm looking for a book that, one store can't get because they use a different distributor versus another distributor. So if I write a game book and I get it published, would I only be able to sell that through certain distributors, and then only certain stores that work with those distributors can get my book? Is that how that works?
You have to think of a distributor like a big customer, right? So if you have a book, then you do an RPG, that distributor is looking at it as a pure business proposition, right? We want to invest this amount of money, and we want to take on, like, it's a financial proposition for them. So if you have a very small print, say RPG that you've written, you essentially have to sell it to the distributors, and that's why you have spotty. Because some distributors will just be like, no, we're not interested in including that in our product line. Think of them kind of like a store.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that is useful.
So,
Does that answer your question?
Well,
yeah, how do stores decide which distributors to use? I guess that's kind of.
but think about like the old J.C. Penney versus Macy's versus Dillard's catalog. If you've got a widget and you've got a really cool widget that everybody wants, like Pokemon as an example, then you're likely to find that across multiple of your distributors, your magazines. But if you've got something that's very niche, if I've got this super cool wrench that works only on Fiats from 1964, that's going to be probably not as common across your distribution channels. So, if you want a game store that's going to support a popular product or IP like Pokemon, that's going to be less tricky than if you want to do something where you're dealing maybe with obscure RPG material. That distributor that's maybe a little tougher to find, or may have challenges getting product because they're waiting on this printer over here that's a small volume printer. He gets 250 books. He's got 1,000 customers. Good luck on that one. So it's, each of the distributors are large businesses that have product catalogs, and you go, that's the product I want in my store, so I need to set up an account and work with them to try to put that stuff in my store so that I can sell it for the people that are after it. It's kind of an interesting thing because the distributors can deny you. They don't have to necessarily allow you to buy from them. And that's their prerogative. That's just sort of the business model.
You can also, we buy lots of small print games directly from the designer.
Mm-hmm. And then,
tons of them.
Mason, is it still true that Games Workshop is something that's a direct relationship? Because I know that when I do miniatures, I buy direct from Reaper instead of a distributor. So that's an option.
I think there are a couple of distributors, I think Alliance or something, that can sell Games Workshop, but for the most part, direct to Games Workshop is primarily handled by them, for sure. Like I think a lot of the independent games and stuff like that I buy through like Asmodee or ACD or something like that. But Games Workshop I deal with directly every week. Yeah.
So that's another thing. If you're doing a specific product, going to the product developer, product manufacturer, they may have a program that you could link up with and become a direct distributor out of your store rather than going through a large warehouse company.
Well, and I know that Shadow Dark is only sold directly from the publisher. They won't use distributors, which made it really hard for me to convince my closest local game store to buy their stuff. But I did finally manage it.
All you gotta do is come down to my shop. We have tons of Shadow Dark stuff.
I bought my Shadow Dark book at your store.
Yay! Thank you. Shadow Dark's so great.
But then I decided I wanted one of the zines, and you'll pardon me, but a 2-hour drive to pick up one zine was really difficult.
Sad. Yeah, I get it. That's a perfect example. Like they want Shadow Dark. I think Kelsey, the designer of Shadow Dark, did not think that it would blow up the way that it blew up. So what she wanted to do is take the system that she designed for running at conventions, and then she wanted to get it actually printed so that she could sell it maybe at conventions that she went to run. And then it became one of the hottest independent games of the last 10 years. So they never had any plans to, look into distributors or anything like that. So that if you are selling a product into distribution, you have to look at how it's produced, the margins, how it fits on a shelf. All of these things are things that distributors consider. And if you weren't planning that from the get-go, it can be really hard to even get a distributor to do it, or to even have a print run large enough to service distribution. A print run for a small publisher, even as big as Shadow Dark, is probably not going to be enough to sell into 3 or 4 distributors who are going to want to buy tens of thousands of copies potentially a piece.
Yeah, I've actually spoken to her online. We were having a very long Twitter debate about what an indie game should be defined as, like how one actually defines an indie game. And she actually popped into the conversation. And she said that she has no intention at this point of ever using a distributor. That her intention is always just to do direct sales because it works well. So how did you guys pick your distributors? It sounds like, Mason, you just kind of deal directly with GW.
I mean, that's the primary one. But I mean, people ask, they come into the shop and they say, "Oh, do you have this such and such game?" So I reach out and I try to find, who's distributing that, obviously. And especially, I guess, during the tariffs and stuff, some distributor stuff got moved around a little bit. So you're trying to like find who's selling it or direct. The thing with direct versus distributor too is direct. Sometimes they want a certain price limit to get like free shipping or something. So if I'm ordering, there's a game called Conquest. They're based in Greece. So you want to spend at least $500 to ship stuff over because it's more worthwhile with import costs and you're paying shipping and stuff like that. Versus I can go through a company like Asmodee and I can buy a bunch of different products from different various areas and have one lump sum and not have to worry about I can reach my free shipping threshold a lot cheaper or a lot more.
Mhm.
And then they're also more local too versus shipping from Greece, right? They're shipping from somewhere in the US or Canada or something like that. So it's a lot more reliable.
Horace, how did you pick yours?
We were desperate to get anybody, so we. Well, I mean, it sounds crazy, but
Fair answer.
So in the middle of Diamond's collapse, Diamond was a huge one, but they had some issues. They announced a bankruptcy, and this and stuff went back and forth. So as you can imagine, everyone who had just Diamond as their primary distribution was like, well, we need to find somebody or anybody who has all the stuff we need. And so everybody else, all the major distributors got inundated with applications. And so we're in the middle of this wave. We're like, hey, we exist. Hey, we exist. Hey, we exist. And we ended up getting one, but their program was so ridiculous that I ended up with $25,000 of stuff on back order that I could not get a hold of. So they didn't serve us very well. And it was very, very frustrating to try to work with my sales rep at the time. So we did another round of applications because we got one we thought would be all right. Couldn't get product, nightmare. But we did an application. We got a phone call back, which was great. We started getting great customer service immediately from this new company. Our sales rep used to be in gaming in a game store, and so she's been very responsive to our needs, understands what we've got going on a day-to-day. And we go, hey, anything I need to be aware of, what's coming up next time? And she goes, hey, yeah, this, and this. And I'm like, cool, add it, throw it on there, do whatever. And so we've pretty much used only one distributor now because we get such excellent service that there's no reason for us to shop around, particularly because our store only has, we are 1,000 square feet and we have probably about 600 of it as retail space. So we don't have like a ton of space and only a few product lines that really fly off the shelves all the time. But that's where we got to it with was we're just somebody please let me do business. I would really like to figure this out. But there was also some interesting things when you get into the world of like what the big distributors are dealing with. You may have heard it sometimes when you go in and you ask for a certain product, allocations. So, large IPs like Bandai Games or Pokemon or something like that. Pokemon can run the printers 24/7. They're still only going to be able to make so much. And there's like 36,000 or plus game stores across the country that are trying to get a hold of it. So if you got 1 million units and I'm trying to get, 100 and that guy's trying to get 1,000 and that guy's trying to get so-and-so, I can order whatever I want. The distributor's only going to get so much from Pokemon, and then they have to figure out how they're going to distribute that among their several accounts. So that's been a bit of a tricky learning curve, but, again, with the support from this company, we've been pretty happy with what we've got. We've been able to grow, which has been really nice. So the last 6 months have been an upward trajectory for us. It's really allowed us to support our community, grow our player base. It's been really awesome. But it's been tricky. It's one of those things that we didn't know going into that, opening the game store side of business. You go from gamer to game shop owner, and you're like, I didn't
know. Brendan, how did you pick yours?
We have accounts with all of them.
All of them?
Yep.
Do they all do business in Maine?
Yeah, you just have to hit minimum orders or pay for shipping. So okay. I don't have literally all of them. I have all the big ones. There are some small, like regional distributors that we don't, you know, they might service like the Northwest. We don't deal with them.
So I
But
have to
all
I
of,
have to admit I know more about the distribution of alcohol than I do games. And there are a lot of alcohol distributors that won't come to New England. That was why I asked that question.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, the all the major distributors will send product to you. Mason mentioned early on, sort of minimum orders is a thing. So if you can't hit minimum orders on a regular basis, then your price margins are going to suffer, and you'll be I don't want to say devalued, but that's not the right word. But your allocations won't be as good. So you have to. It's a juggle. But a lot of the product that we sell, from 40K to Pokemon to Magic, anything that is hot is just hard to get, and you will only get a limited amount. So a big part of ordering on a weekly basis is finding stuff that the customers want, finding sources for the customers. And over the many, many years, we've just opened accounts with everyone. So,
So Legatus had kind of a related question that is also related to a question I wanted to ask. When a customer comes in asking for something you don't have or haven't carried, have you checked to see if it's easily available to order with a deposit, etc.? Like, what are your requirements if they want to order? And my attachment to that is I have a book that I have been looking for months. It apparently is only it's made in France. It's apparently only carried in the US by one distributor, and they charge so much for it that I could literally get a friend to mail me a copy from England cheaper than I could get it in the United States. Unless I'm wondering if that's a frequent issue if you want something that's from not the US, or
Yeah, we have a order sheet, it's like a Google Doc. People scan it and then they can enter kind of whatever they want, based on some criteria that we have access to it. I think one of the most recent ones was Star Wars Imperial Assault, I think, which is kind of out of print, so it's kind of hard to get some stuff's in stock. But for the most part, I'll try to order it, and then when it comes in, they can just pay for it at the store. Usually, I don't really ask for a deposit or anything. So I just let them know, hey, this is available, especially like for Games Workshop stuff that comes up out of stock. I'll get a notification and say, hey, you guys still want this? I'll order it right now, and then they say yes, and then it comes in, and they just pay for it at the store.
is there a time limit? Like if they haven't picked it up within 2 weeks, do you just put it on the
No.
shelf for somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, I'll send usually invoice, and I'll send an invoice usually. If they're not here, I'll ship it to them or whatever. Because we get a lot of people out of state that come in for games, and they live somewhere else. Yeah, and then after a while, I'll just cancel it and sell it. But if they still don't want it anymore, usually.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, if it's something special or they kind of search for high and low for it, usually they want it.
Our tactic with special orders is we just try to have it in our store. Like we have massive amounts of inventory, and our warehouse section of our store is larger than our game space and retail space combined. So we just try to have it. And that means if we don't have it, it's either a strategic decision not to carry that product, or the product is not available. So if someone comes in and asks us for something that we don't have, we will check all of our distribution channels, and if they really want it from us, we can special order it for them. But that doesn't actually happen all that much. It's much more important for us to get pre-orders right for product that is coming out. That's where we're most active. But if someone comes in and they want, Sherry, if you wanted a copy of this book, I would look into it, although it sounds like it's probably better to just get from the UK, right? It is more of a service. Like, I want my customers to get their product however they want to get it. I want to service them. That doesn't necessarily mean that I need to sell to them to be of use to them. So if they are looking, like in your case, with this really hard to get book, I would recommend, if you came into my shop and you were like, hey, can you get this book? And I would be like, yes, it's this expensive. And you're like, I could order it direct from France and it would be cheaper. Then I would suggest that you order it direct from France, because it,
Well, I can't order it direct from France because it would come in French, and I don't read French.
You
They had
get-
a very, yeah, no, I'm just joking. They had a very limited run in England, which
Yeah.
is the only reason there are English books at all. And I did in fact check with your spouse to find out whether or not you guys could get it at, lower than $80 a pop. So
Right. I mean, that's an example, sort of a callback to what we were talking about earlier, is lots of independent game publishers are not producing games with any sort of margin designed to go into retail, right? They're producing it to they're going to sell the product themselves. And that means that there just isn't margin to get it into distribution, to get it into a retail store. So not all games are just made that way. And that's fine.
this one in particular, so this is Night, and it apparently is actually wildly popular in France, and all of their distributors carry it. It's just that they only printed 3 of the books in English, so
Yeah.
most of us don't read French because we're terrible about second languages in this country. So, Boris, I think you're the only one that didn't answer Legatus's question. Do you ask for deposit if?
Depends on what we're trying to get a hold of. When it comes to like certain card product, I've had people put down payment on something I know I'm going to be able to get in. If it's a board game or something a little funky, we've got right now we're working on about a bi-weekly schedule for our orders as we get different events or things that are popping up, or the release schedule's been kind of funky right now. The games are ramping up where there's like new product is available every week or every couple days. So just for our pacing, we're about every 2 weeks. And if it's something I can get relatively quickly, that's great. Other times I find it's either out of stock. And I have had some problems getting some of our local Battletech players their stuff. There are some things that I pre-ordered at their request. I didn't take a deposit for, but Catalyst in particular has been known for pushing back their release dates. So these particular products now have been pushed back twice, and it's a total of 5 months that they've been pushed back. So those are still on my back order list. I'll get an alert from my distributor when those finally do become available, and I'll get first crack at them because of my orders. But when it comes to stuff I know that's going to be pretty limited, pretty tough to get a hold of. In this particular case, it is a booster display for Lorwyn. I've got plenty to cover the store, but if you want to make sure that you get one, I will ask for a deposit. But for the most part, we tend not to do deposits. We try to make sure that we're getting the product in. We're being aware of what our customers are after. And so we try to be proactive about stocking. It's not quite Brendan's strategy. I don't have the space to just have a universe's load of cool stuff. I'd love to be able to do that. And it's probably a better answer than to what we're doing.
Take 27 years to do. So
Yeah.
So-
It is a big store.
And that's one of the things too, the perspective. Like, they've been successful for 27 years, and it takes a particular strategy and consistent execution. So we're getting there, and we're glad to be able to serve people. But for the most part, right now, we're just trying to stay aware of what's coming, and serving those customers that are really hyped about the particular Pokemon release or the new Gundam stuff that we're going to be doing something about this end of this month. So that's really where we're at with it.
I'm kind of guessing too, from what little I know about running any type of business. It was also probably 27 years with a lot of lost sleep. Am I correct?
Yeah, so I was dramatically underfunded when I started up. My funding was simply my ability to work for no pay. I worked uh, 7 days a week. Didn't didn't matter if I was sick or what. Um, I had a broken foot at one point. 7 days a week, 12 to 16 hours a day for 2 years straight, no breaks at all, for no pay. Um, that is not the way that I would recommend anyone start a business. Like, just don't do that. If that's what you're looking at your startup, it is amazing that I didn't burn out. And it is the fact that I didn't have really any life at all. So if you have, kids, marriage, mortgage, any sort of financial responsibility, don't do that. Yeah,
I've got a similar
And
experience.
or if you're over 30.
yeah,
Oh well, yeah. But we went from like our whole focus shifted. We went from conventions and teaching, running games at libraries and stuff. That was a different pace. Even with our YouTube channel, we were like, man, we're pretty busy. As it is, I run the store with my brother and my dad. My brother and I still have full time jobs. My dad's working part time, and then we run the store 7 days a week. So it's a big commitment to try to get this off the ground and learn as you go. Um, it definitely we've had a lot of support from our other local game stores, the community of owners that we've joined, which has been really nice. You may not always find that you've got a store owner that wants to give you some advice because they'll see you as a competitor. We haven't felt that, but it's definitely a time commitment. There's a lot more involved, and so having the support of your friends and family can make a big difference too in just your ability to deal with some of the stress that's going to be coming your way.
Well, you're talking about people coming in earlier. Legatus asked, have you found since stores like Toys R Us are no longer available in the States that it has increased foot traffic or sales to independent gaming stores?
I would say that most game stores are a place to like hang out or play, right? Where those big box retailers don't really have a space; they're just to buy product. And then when they hang out here, they want to buy product from us to support our store. So I think I don't know necessarily that it increases the foot traffic, but yeah.
I assume Legatus was talking about board games, since I think that's mostly what.
That's primarily what they sell. I mean, they sell Magic. They sold Magic too, and Pokemon and stuff like that. But I know recently the demand has been insane. So yeah.
Some of the other big box retailers have stepped into those spaces as well. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff from Costco's, people just raking shelves worth of product at Walmart. Kind of gross behavior stuff that you kind of go, guys. But for the most part, what I think is really going to bring someone to a store and keep them here is the community, the friendships, the ability to hang out and relax and engage with other people that are into their hobbies. I mean, there's not a lot of. I think we have one Warhammer store in our area too, and it's not that it's super specific. It's just that sometimes it takes a good committed group to be fun to hang out with. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing that sets apart a game store as opposed to a big box retailer or an online shop.
So the technical term is third space retail. So you're creating a hangout, a third space. So the game that we're playing, the businesses that we're running are not the same as Toys R Us or big boxes. We're serving a completely different function. We may carry some of the same product, but what we're doing is building that third space, a place that you want to come and hang out for hours. So as Walmart's carry Pokemon, and you can get Warhammer 40K there. You can even go, like, we have a Warhammer store within 15 minutes, but they're not really designed for long-term hangouts. They send customers to us to come and hang out and play tournaments and stuff like that. third space retail is I think the secret, not so secret weapon of game stores. If you can do it well, you'll have a successful game store. Someone had asked about a gaming cafe.
Oh, yeah. So Lance, the Outcast Creative,
Yeah,
was saying that in the UK, let's see if I can find it again.
I see it.
The thing that's taken off in the UK is gaming cafes. We have around a dozen of them alone. I think here it's like pubs and here's the redneckness of Maine. Pubs and axe throwing facilities are the places where people are having games nowadays.
You guys, do you have any around your area? It's basically somebody that has a large library of board games. You pay to get in, and then you just go grab a board game and take it off the shelf and play it. I've got several businesses in the area that do that. But
I mean,
don't
I could
know
do that in
about
my
you guys.
basement.
Some of us can, but
Right.
when you live in an apartment, like Mason mentioned, you may not always have the space for that large collection, or particularly in his case, the space to play those war games.
You have to
That's
understand.
another business that I've seen come up. Not just the axe throwing, but pay to enter giant library board games. Go and hang out.
You have to understand, we had to buy this house based around my husband's gaming collection. we literally picked the house based on a barn for my animals and a room big enough to hold his games.
Very specific criteria.
Bedrooms, kitchen layout, things like that, running water. No, forget it. We don't need those things.
I think to answer the Outcast Creative about the gaming cafe, in my experience, a gaming cafe is either a cafe that is using games kind of as like an advertisement, or you are a game store that has kind of a concession attachment. But you're focusing on one of those things or the other. One of the primary attributes of any successful restaurant is a term called turns, meaning how many people can you sit at a single table and service during a day, right? You want to ship as many people through that, buying food, sitting, eating with you, and then leaving. That is a traditional restaurant business model. A game store is the exact opposite. You want people to come and hang out, and you're building a community. So there's a tension between those two things. And in my experience, you're either doing a cafe or a bar or that also has games, or you are doing a game store that might have a small kitchen that can do some food. But those are kind of just things that are servicing the customers. They're not really, one of them is not the focus.
See, I think the reason it works so well in bars is that the point of bars is also to keep people there as long as possible, because they're going to keep ordering more drinks.
I can tell you firsthand that you do not want to run a 40K tournament when everyone is like a 12 pack to the wind. Like, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a terrible idea.
No,
Yeah.
it's just, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. Asmodee had a big, their store in, I think it's Minnesota. They had their flagship store, and it had a bar. I had a bunch of gamers go to a Netrunner tournament there, like a nationals Netrunner tournament when Netrunner was a thing. And, they were there to play. And there were like at least half the people in the tournament, they were not there to play. They were there to drink. And those are two different experiences. So you just have to be careful when you're doing that. I personally, like as a person, I like to get together with friends and, cook a nice meal, have some snacks. Those are two, like, being a successful restaurateur is extremely difficult. Being a successful game store owner is extremely difficult. To put them together into a business, it just it's exponentially harder to pull off.
Yeah, I agree with you though. I mean, I do like so my regular in-person group, we rotate, and whoever's hosting cooks. And I do have to say, since I run all the games, that the months I have to cook and run is complicated. But I can't imagine doing that, you know, on a regular basis, uh, for an unknown group of people with unknown allergies and unknown everything else. It's hard enough, for 7 people who already have food issues of various sorts. I wanted to kind of shift a little bit into financial stuff because there were several people that had financial questions about how one goes about running a game store. And this is where I wanted to go back to Legatus's for ages ago. If you can match your hobby with work and that pays and covers all your bills, great. But too many people are not an entrepreneur good with money or budgets. I am absolutely guilty of this. I am a good writer. I'm a good editor. I'm a terrible business person. How do you find it works as far as game stores go?
For me, I would say there are two things. And I want to also include Legatus's other question here for stores with gaming areas, public bathrooms, and stuff. A lot of times that's going to be required to occupy. It's going to come down to like your local regs. But one of the things that's a pain in the neck is the strip mall that we're in was built pre ADA, so my doors are narrow and I don't have good access for some of my customers and chairs. So you'll have some certain things like that, but typically, the more amenities, the nicer that your store will end up being. So I would think a public restroom would be at least a must, but um, that's going to be your minimums to occupy. But when it comes down, kind of like we talked about a little bit earlier, where you're the facilitator to the gaming community, you're the one that's helping everyone else have fun. That's one side of it. The other side of it is your regular business nuts and bolts. So whether you open that craft bakery, you're trying to, do all your cool crochet stuff, or like us, you're running a game store. You need to know your profit, loss, income, debt service. I mean, all of the things that you would normally need for a business are a part of this business. And if you don't know it, that's okay. But not everybody has the pocketbook to learn as you go. So I definitely would say that if you're considering it, do a little bit of research up front. Maybe talk with some legal professionals or financial professionals in your area that can go and say, okay, here's some things that you may or may not know. Let's make sure that you've got all your T's crossed, I's dotted. You're good with the local um, county office, that sort of stuff. One of the things that was kind of a long thing to get set up was getting the fire department to come down and do our occupancy inspection, required in the county to have that done. So there's definitely some things that go to it, but I would say, your business nuts and bolts, things that any business would need, are a separate yet connected bag to what does my business actually do? What is my why? Why do I go and open the store, and what am I trying to do with it? There's a little bit, that you got to do back and forth on those things.
Do you have a follow on to that, Mason?
I was going to say, anybody else?
Yeah.
All right, we just got beat over the head with it. So when we opened up, I'm like, oh my god.
Well, it's funny because we're not that far away. So Games Workshop, it's not a cafe, but Games Workshop used to be have a bunker. They used to have a couple of bunkers, so they were 20 table gaming spaces with a retail shop, and you could get Forge World there. You could get stuff in the UK only found. And since then, they about 10 probably plus years ago, they shut those down and became one-man stores. And that's how we kind of grew, is because those one-man stores, when they go to lunch, they shut their store down. When they're sick, they shut the store down. They don't have another person to help that store. So, and they only have 1 or 2 tables. So if 2 people are or 4 people are playing, that's kind of it, right? And yeah, it's interesting because they also just opened up it's called the cafe, the Warhammer Cafe in Monrovia, about 40 minutes from us. But it's just kind of a crappy coffee shop attached to, a Warhammer store. so it's $7 coffee. That's not great. We have and like I said, like we don't, obviously I don't want to do that business. There's a coffee shop in our complex that makes really good coffee. And we have some vending machines here, but that's about it because most people are here after hours. So most of the stuff around the area is pretty much closed.
We have vending machines. We have
Yeah.
public bathrooms. We have all of that stuff. You had there was a question, I think, from the same person about pricing.
No, that was from Matt. But I did want to finish. How did you find balancing your, love of gaming and your desire to form a game store with, having to learn all the business stuff?
I come from an accounting background, so
I'm so
um,
sorry. I mean,
well, it certainly helps with understanding how
I
money
know, I'm
works.
joking.
Um,
Uh,
it like you have to have a business background. Like, don't open up a game store because you like games. A game, like, just play games with your friends. Go to another game store. Opening a game store because you like games is a recipe for disaster. And the worst disaster is you will turn to hate games, right? So you need to open a game store because you want to start a business and you have expertise within gaming, right? That's what you want to do. You want to start a business. You don't want to like play games and get paid or buy games for cheap or anything. None of that is a business.
sounds like all the people I know who say they're getting chickens to get free eggs.
Yeah,
I
no.
and I
Like
and,
you
and I
can do
laughed.
that. You can do that. It is a tremendous amount of work to get free eggs, right? To use your store.
And they won't, and there will be the most expensive free eggs
Right. And
ever.
what you will find out, and this is why a lot of little game stores open up and then shut down, is they're like, oh, I just want to get together with my friends and play games. I don't want to do all of this stuff. Well, all of that stuff is running a business. So you need to decide that you want to run a business first, because that is its whole ball of wax, whole can of worms right there that you're going to have to deal with. Fire inspectors, supply chains, keeping your, managing employees, accounting, profit and loss statements, taxes. That is an awful lot to take on to get together with some friends and play Warhammer.
Well, that's to your point, Brendan. I'll just add on, like, while there is money to be made, if there's no passion here, that's where you quickly find that burnout. You're like, wow, this is a lot to deal with, and I don't even really like Pokemon. So,
Right.
there's you kind of want to be in it and around it. My background, I've been in the automotive industry since 2008, so I've got a lot of sales training and things in that regard that really helped me tackle and ask the right questions as we came into exploring having a retail space of our own. But I mean, Brendan's right. There's, just dealing with that minutia is a hair pulling experience. You've got to have some passion for it, but you also have to realize that it's a business and you're running a business now.
One of the most important lessons I learned, and it took me a long time, was that gaming in my store was not a replacement for the gaming that I do personally. They are two almost entirely different things. Hanging out and playing games on my own is something that I've done all of my life. Teaching games or running games in my store is work, and they are two different things. So when I'm gaming on my own, like later this week, I'm flying out to visit some friends and we're going to play some games. We all work in the gaming industry. None of us are playing at our store. Like, we're going to a person's house. We're going to just play some games because that's for us, right? That's different than playing the games in your shop. And it took me of like 20 years to figure that out.
Someone said too that the problem is with owning a gaming store is you can't just have the games you like, and that one of the most important skills is find a game you hate and try and convince someone to buy it. What do you think about that?
It's the Joe Dirt one where he's like, "Oh, I only like snakes and sparklers. That's the only ones I sell." He's like, "No, man, you need the good stuff." He's like, "Yeah, I've definitely found that out too, and especially, I mean, going back to Warhammer, obviously it's the biggest game that we sell, but you know, you peek behind the curtain, you see, you know, who the wizard is of Oz, and you start hating them because you're trying to deal with them and get allocations. So it kind of kills the passion for a lot of games that you're playing. But at the same time, I feel like I've never played so many games, other games in my life. You know, there's a lot of guys will come in and like, oh, we have this, you know, Moonstone, or we have some other random, you know, third party game. And so I've got to play those games and got excited about, you know, playing other things that are, you know, other than the bigger IPs out there.
From my sales background, I'll tell you that a good salesperson is not a swindler. They're not going to talk you into anything. They're a good problem solver. And so when you go, hey, I want to try to do XYZ with my family, I need a game that supports 6 people or what have you, you go, I think I've got that over here. You have to have enough knowledge of what you sell, of course, to be able to make those recommendations. But if you come at it from the standpoint of you're serving somebody, I'm here to help them have a good time. And the problem is that they need this thing to have a good time. Let me figure out how to get them that thing. Then you don't really have to worry about it too much because you're not focused on the game that maybe you've never played or you don't like to play. It's not really your jam. You're focused on, hey, how can I make sure that this person has a great time with their family tonight? And that's
I
really
think
what
that
we want.
was I think that was what the person's idea was that just because you don't like a game doesn't mean it isn't going to work for someone else, and you have to know what its pros are even if you don't like it.
Right. Like I love driving manual cars. There's most people I could not put in a manual car at all. So I have to I have to understand that like, yes, it's a Camry. Yes, it's an automatic, but it's a fantastic car. But I'm going to go drive this turbo over here. So yeah, it's just one of those things where you have to be able to separate yourself. Again, it's that why. Like, why am I in the gaming space? Because I love gaming and I want to share it with everybody. So when somebody comes and says, hey, I've got this problem, you go, let me help you figure it out.
The biggest
That's an
thing
i-
too is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I really like the idea of looking at it that way.
The biggest thing that helped me out was when we started running events, when we tried to find, you know, start a Warhammer event or you know, a War Machine event. I find tournament organizers that are passionate about that game, and they have a following behind that game. So I don't have to run the, you know, the tournament. It's the person that's in the hobby that runs the tournament, because I'm trying to deal with, you know, sales and selling to people and, you know, creating new products and stuff like that. So that's the biggest help that I've found, is finding people in the community to take over that, the gaming events, which, you know, helps bring people in and stuff like that. So.
And then Matt Funcool said, "How do you price what you're selling?"
Most retailers, distributors have a max. They have an MSRP, obviously, and then they have the max like discount you can apply to certain products. So, or you know, myself, I have my costs times, you know, X amount of dollars over that, and then, you know, enough room for distributors, enough room for shipping, and, you know, something that's priced what people want to buy it for.
It can be a fairly complicated process, but it's you're trying to balance fairness and different requirements. Some of the products will have what's called manufacturer advertised pricing, and so the pricing is set. You're required to sell it at that price when you carry that product. So there's not a whole lot that you got to worry about there outside of making sure that you're priced correctly. There's a lot of tools that can help you do that, but MSRP is going to be your guide. Right now, I've got a lot of secondhand retailers in my area that'll have new product, but they're selling based off of market. So, you know, as an example, Pokemon ETB MSRP around 50 to 55, and they've got it on their shelf for 85. And you're like, what is going on? There's nothing from that the manufacturer that says they can't do that, but it's definitely not something that a lot of people in our area have really taken kindly to. So they'll get their own pushback. That's market forces, but um, you know, MSRP is going to be your good guy because it's manufacturer suggested retail price. Um, and realistically, that's when you're in a bigger market, you're crowded out. If that guy's got this item for 7 and he's over there for 8 and you're at 5 and this is at 3 and this is it can make very interesting market to compete in, and you want to be fair, but you also need to be sure you're taking care of your own business and your customers. It gets to be a little complicated sometimes, realistically, but there's definitely some tools out there to help you be able to manage that effectively, so that you've got a good balance on those things.
Is the suggested retail a stable number, or does it vary? Because I mean, I assume that different parts of the country are going to have very different overhead for the business.
Well, that may mean,
I'm assuming Mason's rent is probably higher than.
Well, even compared to like me and Brendan, right? Like I might have to sell 1,000 Pokemon packs to pay rent. Brendan may need to sell 10,000 Pokemon packs to pay rent. If we're paying, if we're selling them at the same MSRP, definitely he's going to have different market pressures in his region as compared to me in the middle of Missouri. And that's where the business side of things comes in, and not so much the gaming side of things come in.
But the suggested retail is the same, though. It's just how much product you have to sell to cover.
You may have some variance in it, but typically, by region, so my game store, when I get things from my distributor, and the store down the road, they get stuff from their distributor, which may be the same or different. Ideally, we should end up with about the same number because it comes from the manufacturer. It's not coming from the distributor.
I think my question, though, is Brendan and Mason being on totally opposite sides of the country getting different suggested retail prices, or is it the same price?
No, not necessarily, because online is kind of the de facto, like every retailer or distributor has their price they sell it to you, and then you're buying at a percentage of that, right? So your cost. Obviously, yes, I might have to sell way more to meet my rent, but then that's the whole reason I did the way I'm doing my business was with the membership program, right? So you have consistent income that you can rely on for people gaming in your space, and the sales can be, not a super primary focus on what I'm trying to, sell to make rent or pay employees and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We're servicing our customers, right? One of the primary ways that we service our customers is to stay in business. We need to pay our employees well. We need to make sure that we have money for stock. We need to be able to, pay rent and have the snow cleared. A business that is operating on a positive margin after all of its bills of 12%, 18%, that's a very healthy business. At the end of the year, you get to that after all costs. You're doing very well. That's possible to do in the gaming industry. It's not easy, it's a difficult question to be like, how do you price? Like, lots of different companies try to impose pricing, but you can't. Like, setting prices is not actually, in most circumstances, legal. And with the rise of the internet, it's just the Wild West all the time. So Pokemon is a perfect example. Or actually, let's use Final Fantasy, the Magic set from last year, where if we have stock and you can sell this stock, this booster box, for 4 times MSRP online by literally taking a picture in the parking lot of a store that you just bought it at and selling it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or something like that, then what will happen is we will get stock, and then people will drive from states around and they'll just vacuum up all the product, right? So we have to develop strategies that protect our local customers. We want them to get product, but we also want to protect our margins, and we want to protect against just selling to people that are going to flip it online. That's just a regular dance that you do these days. It is pricing in the gaming industry. A lot of times is art.
Some folks had questions also about used product. If you're dealing with like we've got a couple graded comic books from the 50s.
Nice.
It's a number. It came out back as a 5, but it's still like $600. And so you try to find some information about a comic book, and that's kind of spotty information. Then okay, now I've got this one and it's graded. So what should it be now that it's graded? There's different things you can see. Condition of things and this stuff. So if you thought new product pricing could get wild, some of the collectible used product, for an example, we've got a first edition white box complete D&D set. It's not all original, but it is complete with the box. We've got a couple of them actually, and they vary in condition, and so they vary widely in pricing. And that's sort of the thing you kind of go, okay, eBay. So it can be quite an interesting and complicated question. So when you're dealing with like the Final Fantasy set, Prismatic Evolutions for Pokemon was also wild. There's a whole lot of factors that can influence your pricing beyond what, just trying to set a good baseline from MSRP or map pricing comes down to.
I had another question. Now I got to see if I can find it again. Here we go. I know when I worked retail, you sometimes get promotional material to display. How helpful are those displays?
If it's a paint rack, it's essential.
Makes sense.
Like racking is always great. But we have limited wall space, so like we can't just put up any promotional stuff that we get. So that's like, if you're a producer of games and you have a high art budget and you want to send us promotional materials, that helps us sell product, or it helps me sell product. I don't want to speak for these guys, but we also get a lot of promotional stuff that just doesn't make the cut. So if you're going to put out promotional product, make sure it's good and useful to retailers. That's my 2 cents.
What would you say is, other than the paint displays, what would you say is the most useful promotional material for actually moving product?
I would say that the most important thing to have printed is your product. And that may sound ridiculous, but there are lots of companies that we just can't get enough of their product. So if the question is, if you're going to siphon some of your budget from printing more copies of the book that you're selling or making posters to help sell that book, just print more books. The promotional stuff, so like if we do a board game, and a board game may have, so let me see, the Two Towers, which is the cooperative trick-taking game that just came out, had a set of promos with it that are exclusive to retail stores, and that's a great promotion because customers who are excited about those games go to a retail store to get those promos because they're only available in retail stores, or at least they're only supposed to be available in retail stores. So that's another great way. I work with Brent from Goobertown, who's an online painting YouTuber, and he and Casey of eBay Miniature Rescue have launched a product, and they're hoping to get it into retail. And what they're doing is they're designing product, a variant of the product that is only available to retailers. It won't be available for sales online. That is a great way if you want to work with a retailer to have promotional product, things that are exclusive to retailers. We will be your best free employees ever. We'll sell your games, we'll stock them, we'll teach people how to use them, we'll provide space for them to use them. All of that costs money. So having healthy margins on your product, that's great. Having, helpful ways that, to help us sell the product, that's great. It can be like a store locator, shout outs on your social media. It doesn't have to be a physical thing.
What about like I know sometimes stores that do a lot of board game, they'll get a copy of the board game that is specifically to be used in the store for people to learn to play it. Do you find that those are helpful?
Yeah, demo copies have been huge. I've got a shelf that's demos that people can come in and play, and they really enjoy that. Secret is that I've got to pay for a lot of those. Now I do
Oh,
get a different, usually at a deeper discount, but I don't have as much board gaming here. So Mason, maybe you've got a better deal with Asmodee, but I've seen where they will send you demo games, or if you're part of a program, you can get materials like that, and that seems pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Warlord Games sends us some free miniatures. Warhammer sends us free miniatures, little push fit guys. So those are cool because people come to the store and you just give them a little, push fit miniature. So we have a lot of those. Games in general, yeah, we'll put them on our shelf too for people to play for a little bit. Yeah.
Another thing that really, because I've got a lot of kids, they love some of the organized play rewards, and organized play has definitely been our lifeblood. So with Pokemon, I get a booster pack. Everyone comes in to buy packs of cards. Well, now you get one for free, but you have to play in the league. And you'll see special promos for organized play. I've got them for Gundam. I've got them for Magic the Gathering. Those are pretty nice, but some of the other stuff that I've seen, if you can get a display that's like a particular brand of card box or something of that nature. If you've got the floor space for it, they're great. If you don't, or there's not like a super popular product, they can end up being a waste. Sometimes you'll get the paper displays, but a lot of times, when it comes to a rack, like the rack we got from Reaper, I bought all the Reaper minis with the rack and everything. They shipped it on a truck. But that's about me setting up my store and displaying product that I want to really show off in my store. Not quite promotional material, but for us, we see a lot of stuff in our organized play. So different Pokemon banners, and I got little Pikachu hats, all sorts of stuff. Has been pretty good. That's kind of.
Driving and Dragon says, how do you address the issue of distributor select stock, like when you have to buy 80 boxes of Boogerman to get the Pokemon Anniversary Pack? I don't understand the question, but I'm assuming that you guys do.
They make package deals. So you're like, if you buy $1,600 worth of whatever, then you have the opportunity to buy this $600 worth of Pokemon. I don't deal with that.
You can't get that material otherwise. Is that the
because of limited availability? I saw this. You guys remember when Chevrolet brought the Stingray back? They did the same thing over there in cars. If you were a Chevy dealer and you wanted a Stingray, cool. You can buy this package of 30 cars that includes these trucks and SUVs and this and this and this. Oh, and then we'll ship you a Stingray. It happens sometimes. It's based on probably product availability largely. Yes, I've got it, but I can't just throw it out because everybody wants it. So let me try to put it, some kind of thing where you gain access to it. That's just a distributor thing. I don't know. Do you guys deal with it much? Because I don't see it with our company, which is probably why we stay with them.
Yeah, Games Workshop did that to us a couple times, but
they
allocations.
Yeah, allocations are always a thing. I don't think I've ever had a distributor say buy 80 boxes of garbage so that you can buy 40 boxes of good stuff. I would just not deal with that distributor. The distributors are in business to keep us in business. Like, we are their customers, so they don't want to foist garbage on us either. Now, if you are trying to open up a game store and you are like, well, I'm only going to carry the white hot products that everyone else is trying to get and have, and have trouble, because obviously that's an easy business to do, right? I'll get pallets and pallets of the new Pokemon set. It'll blow out my doors as soon as I get it. I'll pay all my bills and great. That's not a game store. That's just a product flipper. And distributors and game companies don't want that represented in their market. So that's where allocations come in. It's one of the brakes that they can put on. So if you are a game store, right, and you are servicing games and growing a community, you will get allocations of the hot products, because you have relationships of purchasing from distributors. If you are a person who wants to open up a quote unquote game store, and just buy pallets of Pokemon, that doesn't exist. You can't do that.
Legatus had a question about dice, and I've lost it. Legatus, can you repost it?
It's way back up. He's like, how did you decide on your pricing of individual dice? Yeah, it's way back up.
It just popped into my head for some reason that I hadn't done it yet.
We sell, just to answer that for me quickly, we sell individual dice. We have them for sale, but we almost never sell them. We sell sets of dice. We find that customers, there is a specific ticket price. It's usually about $10-ish, $10, $15, maybe $20. Customers don't even think about it. They're just like, yep, I need a new set of dice. I forgot my dice. They come in, they buy a $14 set of dice. So we don't actually want to carry a lot of stuff in our store that is only, $1 or $2. That stuff is carried in the vending machine. And the reason for that is because we have employees. So if an employee is doing a task, right, and they have to stop what they're doing to come over and sell a 75-cent die, we've lost money because it's taken us so much effort to change the channel to come over and service that tiny sale. So you have to think about that. Like Magic singles, Pokemon singles are the same way. We don't have any singles in the store that are less than like 50 cents. Those are, you can buy them online for a nickel. We don't want to deal with that. To touch a card, to process a card similar to a die, it costs us money to do that. So we don't want to just drown in 5-cent sales. So we pick a floor of what we want to deal with, and we try to service that. So in the case of dice, the reason that we have individual dice is actually more of a dinosaur from how we used to do it. And now we have our individual dice. It's like a section that's like this big. And then we have a giant wall of, specialty dice and, $50 solid metal D20s and stuff like that. That's the type of stuff that we actually want to sell. And it comes down to our bottom line. So I don't know if that is useful. I hope it is.
Yeah. So I was going to ask a little bit about the challenges one gets into, but we're close to 9 o'clock, and I would like to end on a positive note. So going clockwise, what is the single favorite, like personal favorite product you sell? No pressure, Boris.
Right now, it's going to be the Gundam card game. As a fan of the original from the 70s, I really love the quality. Bandai prints all their stuff still in Japan. They've got their high-tier cards are all embossed, full foil. The game is a lot of fun. It's currently evolving. That's the one that I'm most excited for, as we've got different things coming out. And I will say I used to be a big Pokemon player, but shortly after we opened the store, I lost all my cards, and that's put a kind of a damper on my enthusiasm there. But Gundam is going to be cool. Bandai has been great to work with, and we're super excited to be able to support that as they develop that game. So super stoked.
Okay. Brendan, can you pick one?
I am going to cheat. My favorite thing that we sell is our community.
That is definitely cheating. I specifically said product.
Well, I want to say that products come and go, right? There's very few products that stay, and those are the Warhammers, those are the Pokemons, the Magics. Products come and go. That's just the nature of this. What doesn't is the need for people to gather together and experience play, and that is the best thing that's the best product that we offer. It is a product that Walmart doesn't offer. It's a product that Amazon doesn't offer. Um, and that product, while ostensibly is free, it's not. It costs a lot of money, and that's why shopping at your local game store is so important, because you're subsidizing this service, this third space, this ability to hang out, meet new people, and crush them mercilessly under your army's boot or whatever. Um, like that is and will continue to be for us, and will always be the most important thing we do, and my favorite part uh, of owning a game store is servicing the community. And however we do that with products, like I'm excited. I love role playing games. I'm flying out to Wisconsin on Thursday to run the Heart RPG, and I'll play some D&D, and I'll play Shadow Dark, and I'm playing all of these little games, and those are great, and I love them. But as a product for a game store, it's the community. So sorry to cheat, but
There's a Heart RPG? I did not know that one.
that's awesome.
Now I'm going to have to look that one up.
Yeah.
So Boris and Mason, remember all of that, and now you know why he's been in business for 27 years.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, what marketplace I can sell and package. Do I do them like an annuity, or are they like financial? I don't know. I'm gonna have to call an investment bank or something. And
well, I mean, Mason does it as a gym membership, so
no, which is actually
it's kind of brilliant. It's kind of brilliant, really.
Yeah, really.
So the most profitable retail space per square foot in existence. Do you know what it is?
I feel like this is a trick question.
It's not a trick question. When I say it, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Wait, say the question again.
The most profitable per square foot retail establishments that exist.
Okay, if you didn't say retail establishments, I'd have an answer, but as
No,
a retail,
retail
once you add the
establishment.
retail, I don't have an answer.
It's the Apple Store.
Oh yeah, that totally makes
They
sense.
have tons of highly trained employees. They have lots of product. There is no obligation to buy. You can go there and learn about the product, and they just know that their product is cool enough that you'll buy it. Game stores can function the same way.
So if you didn't have the word retail in there, the answer is cheese caves.
Well, if you talk to your customers, if you open a game store and you talk to your customers and you say, hey, if you buy this Warhammer 40,000 miniature and it costs $65 at my store, you can find it online for $55, right? And you can tell them that money, that $10 that you're spending, that goes to something. That helps me clean these tables. It helps me keep toilet paper in the bathroom. It helps me hire employees to teach other people how to play these games. Like, it doesn't go into the ether. You're not just paying for nothing. That extra margin that you're paying goes to supporting the community. And once you explain it to customers, they generally will get it.
The other thing I think that gets forgotten is that, if you go to your friendly local gaming store, like, all of that money is staying in the community. It's local employees and local business and local money that's going to turn back around again.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you order it online, it's going into a slush fund in Jeff Bezos's Swiss account somewhere.
That's true.
Mason, what is your favorite current
I'm also
product?
a little biased because it's all the products that I designed and sell myself. So I have the best margins on them because I, sell them at basically what I want. And I know the markup and everything. So, and that's how I funded the store, right? So that's how I started 8 years ago. And that's, the store Chips helps bring the community together, and I'm able to show my products to people, because a lot of gaming in general is being with people, and being showing off your minis, showing off what you painted to other people. So bringing the community together for sure, but it helps me understand like what products I can make to help wargaming more fun in general, or more accessible to others. So yes, it's Squad Marks products. Available at squadmarks.com. No plug.
All right.
And then before we
That-
go, I know you're short on time, but I'd made a note here regarding this convention. Did you?
Oh, I'll talk to you about it on the back end.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. However, I do want to do outros. So if everyone wants to talk about what you got going on, if you've got sales coming up, if you've got events, if you've got YouTube videos, if you've got tournaments, whatever you got. I got chat members from all over the country, so you might pick up a few extra visitors. Boris?
First, let me say thank you again for having me here. Your channel has been amazing. Third time, do I get a punch card, by the way? Like, do I get a free cheap coffee or something? But no, it's been a lot of fun. We're celebrating our first year in business. We've grown quite a lot. We've built a really solid community. You can find us on our Facebook page. It's our most active place, Griffin's Keep in Willard, Missouri. We've got a really strong Pokemon League. Gundam Day is our big thing for this month. On the 31st, we'll be celebrating the release of GDO 3 along with 2 new decks. We're going to have our local Gundam builders out here with a showcase, building Gundams in store. So we've got everything from models to card games to just enjoying some of the lore and the shows, the art, and machinery. So it's going to be a good time. And we appreciate it again with all your questions. And we look forward to, if you're in our area, potentially meeting you and serving you in the future.
Awesome. Brendan?
First, I want to say to Boris, congratulations on 1 year. Like, that's a big deal. Like, good job.
I appreciate that, because we've seen several come and go before we got here, and several come and go after we got here. It's
hard.
We're a small margin, and we're still working because we're still putting some money in. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
But we're getting to that plateau. There's light at the end of this tunnel, and
That's awesome.
We're really excited to continue to make a difference, because this is a small town that we're in, and we're the only one. So we got to do a good job.
Yeah. I reach out to me if you have questions. I'd be happy to help you with whatever advice I can give.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, we run events every day. We're well stocked, and if you're local to us, drop in. If you're visiting Southern Maine, drop in. If you are not, which I imagine most of you are not in Southern Maine, find a local game store that you can fall in love with and buy stuff from them. Go in, be a good customer, and contribute to the community by patronizing them. Yeah, that's the right word. Patronizing in a good way. Buying stuff from them. Join their leagues. Be a good gamer. It really makes running a game store is a hard thing. So, but it's also teamwork, right? Like Mason said, finding tournament organizers and stuff like that, it's a massive win for a game store organizer. Anything that you can do up and above, buying Pokemon packs or Warhammer or whatever, just frequent your friendly local game store. Know that they're working really, really hard for usually not a lot of money so that you can have a place to play. And yeah, that's what I want to say.
Okay. Mason?
Yeah. So, just excited for, this year, see how many people we can help, into the community. I'll be at Adepticon as well. Squad Marks will be at Adepticon. So it's an awesome gaming convention.
I'm going to Adepticon. We should
You're going to
meet up.
come? Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I have
going
a
to-
booth. I have a booth there, so I'll be in the vendor hall.
I'm
That's-
working.
yeah.
I'm working in the vendor hall with Goblin Games.
Oh, fantastic! All right, I'll see you there.
Is
Awesome.
it in
Yeah,
Milwaukee, right?
yeah, Milwaukee.
Yep.
They moved from Schaumburg to Milwaukee, which is, I think, a great move.
Quick
Option
shout out.
Center.
We're going to have one of our locals at Adepticon teaching mini painting. So if you guys see Anthony R. up there,
Anthony, all right, yeah.
Well, now I feel left out.
No, Adepticon's a great, awesome convention. They've grown it drastically, so
Yeah, it's huge.
I'm super excited for Milwaukee's a great location too.
Yeah.
A lot easier to actually hang out and stuff like that. So I'll be there. And then if anyone in the Southern California area want to hang out at Squadmarks, yeah, show.
All right. I am, as always, the Eclectic Goat. Tomorrow, I am going to be starting. Let's see. I do game streams from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though I am notoriously terrible about running over. Adam, I will take your wrench away if you misbehave. Tomorrow, I am going to be starting Diablo 2. It is the expansion, but it is the classic version, not the remastered version. Wednesday, we will be back to Tainted Grail. I have not decided for the end of the week what we're going to be doing. Next Monday on Slice and Dice, we are going to have the punk episode. So we're going to have a solar punk and a cyberpunk episode. Rio, have a great night. Thank you for coming. And then on the 3rd, I am going to be on Jacob Ironside's channel, Talkin' X-Files. And I still am absolutely convinced in my heart of hearts that I will get my Watership Down video out by the end of the month. Honest promise. Even if I have to pull a couple of all-nighters. Hanayama-san, I missed you. I wondered where you were. I missed the chance to have to, blurt out your name really fast so that I didn't screw it up. I have a terrible hard time with Hanayama-san's name. I want to thank everyone in the chat and everyone on the panel for being here. If you have not liked, shared, subscribed, bell, all the things that we need in order to keep the channel going, please do so. And just a reminder that I've actually got monetized, much to my surprise. So that's a thing. We have decided that, since you are all the herd, that members will now be referred to as queens and sires. So, just keep that in mind if you decide to become a member. Again, thank you very much for being here. I hope to see most or all of you tomorrow morning in the game stream. And as always, happy headbutting.
It's a fucking goat!
Eclectic Goat's got videos of indie authors and cinema love. A passion for the weird and the strange. She's snappily dressed and only slightly deranged. Come and meet the Eclectic Goat, lover of classics and whiskey notes, disciple of horror and the written word. Happy headbutting, come join the herd. Shows might be a little improper. We've got real zombie, fake whizzes the otter, pizza in one hoof, glass in the other, deciding which role-playing games we will cover. Come and meet the Eclectic Goat, lover of classics and whiskey notes, disciple of horror and the written word. Happy headbutting, come join the herd. Got a thing for black and white screens, crappy horror with low budget scenes. Choose on the history, spits out the lore. Time for another whiskey pour. Come and meet the Eclectic Goat, lover of classics and whiskey notes, disciple of horror and the written word. Happy headbutting, come join the herd.